We're going to start by lying on our backs with our knees bent, and then swinging the legs from side to side. We're going to warm up the hips. Now pull both knees towards your chest and hug them. Extend one leg down and bring one bent knee across, looking in the opposite direction for a spine twist. Extend the bent knee for a gentle hamstring stretch. Repeat on the other side. You can extend your arm as well for an extra stretch. Now lying in butterfly position, make sure your heels are lifted so there's no sickle, and we're going to do 10 développés, lowering with a flex foot, followed by 10 omblépés, lifting with a flexed foot. Then we finish with 5 flex fondus. So as you bend the knee, flex the foot, as you stretch the knee, point the foot. Off we go with our développés. Make sure your working leg maintains the position of the lifted heel at all times, so that you're really working towards the fished foot position we find at the bar, and we're not working on a sickled foot. Flexing the foot in the développés adds an extra hamstring stretch to the exercise. Keep the rest of your body very still. Now for 10 omblépés. Keep your neck long and relaxed. Now moving on to our flex fondus. As you bring the leg front, you're going to flex the foot, bend the knee, as if you're doing a plie or maybe a fondue at the bar, and then close, always keeping those heels lifted. All of these exercises are going to help with your extensions to the front. So you'll notice this in exercises like grand battement, in adage, and in your front splits. Now pull both knees towards your chest and hug them. Now we're going to repeat everything on the other side. Now we have our omblépés. And finally, our flex fondus, keeping the hips very still. This is great for opening out the hips. Moving on to our hamstring stretch, you're going to extend one leg up to the ceiling, either holding onto the foot or the ankle or just above the knee. Make sure both knees are stretched and you're pressing your spine into the floor. Now, bending the knees, we're going to move on to the bridge position. So inhaling, rolling up through the spine. When the hips are lifted, you're going to extend one leg and kick it like a grand battement, up and down without touching the floor. Then we have 6 bridge extension pulses, and then we're going to roll all the way back down. Starting with our bridge battements. So rolling up, extend the leg, grand battement, don't touch the floor, keep the hips lifted, don't let them drop, keep the neck long and relaxed. Make sure the knee of your standing leg stays nice and still and parallel to the working leg. Now we have our bridge extension pulses, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling and then rolling back down through the spine. Now we're going to repeat everything on the other side. Moving on to our adductor pulses. From your bridge position on demi-point, we're going to open and close the knees, but press the knees together with resistance, and this is going to activate your inside thighs. We'll do this 20 times. So rolling up, high demi-point, and press the knees for 20. 19, 18, 17, squeeze the glutes, feel the inside thighs pressing, keep the neck long, high demi-point, don't let the hips drop. Now lying on your side, one arm under the head, the other arm in front of you to stabilize you, lifting the legs off the floor and turned out. We're going to do 10 sideways développés. So your lower leg does not touch the floor. Then we have 10 ombloupés, finishing off with 10 grand battements. Finally, we have a shoulder the leg stretch. Shouldering your leg is basically bringing your leg up towards your shoulder. Then we're going to move on to a sideways plank with derriere passé. Bring the leg to derriere, press it forwards, backwards, turn in, turn out. We're going to repeat this 5 times, maintaining your sideways plank position. Okay, so starting off with our développés. Lifting the legs off the floor, squeezing the abs, hips stacked on top of each other. 10 développés. In lifting your standing leg off the floor, we're working on strength and control of the hip flexors. So hopefully when you're back in the center, maybe doing développés or balancing on one leg, you should notice that your standing leg is a lot more stable and strong, and hopefully this will help you with your balances on one leg. Moving on to our ombloupés. Keep the hips very still, stacked on top of each other, and the neck relaxed. Place the standing leg back down on the floor. We have our 10 grand battements. Stretching by shouldering the leg. If you can't reach the heel, you can hold on to the lower leg. Moving on to our side plank, make sure your elbow is directly underneath your shoulder, hips are lifted, and we're going to lift to our derriere position, lift up and over the knee, and then turn the knee in and out. So this is really working on our core strength and stability and strength of our hip flexors. This is going to help you with your pirouettes, with your développés, your enveloppés, and again, balancing on one leg. Now repeat everything on the other side, starting with 10 développés. And now our 10 enveloppés. Keep the turn outs at all times. Don't let the lower leg turn in at all. Lowering the standing leg to the floor, we have our 10 grand battements. Shouldering the leg for a deep stretch. And now for our sideways plank with our derriere passes. This exercise is working on your core strength and the strength and stability of your hip flexors. We're also working on the mobility of your hips, so it's very important that when you lift your foot up into derriere, you try and lift the toes over the knee before you close front, and then back again up and over the knee before you close behind. If you don't lift the knee in the derriere, you won't be pushing your flexibility in the hips. Moving on, we're going to lie on our front and do 5 alternate arm and leg lifts. As you float the arm and opposite leg off the floor, you're going to look over the fingers and then lower the forehead back down. Then we're going to do the same with the arm in fifth and the knee bent in attitude. With the leg in attitude, we're activating the glutes, and with the arm in fifth, we're working the lats. Then hands underneath your forehead, we're going to do 10 développés to arabesque. So lifting the foot up to the back of the knee and then extending behind you. Finishing off, we're going to do combined arm and leg lifts. So both arms and both legs off the floor at the same time. Off we go with our alternate arm and leg lifts. Make sure you don't hold your breath in this exercise. Keep breathing normally. And now the same with the leg in attitude and the arm in fifth. And switching over. Moving on to our développé arabesques. Not only are these exercises working on your extensions going behind, but they're also strengthening your back. And now both arms and both legs off. This exercise is particularly good for strengthening the back. And now stretching out in child's pose, reaching the fingers forwards and relaxing the forehead down onto the floor. Moving on to all fours, we're going to do 5 grand battement derriere, touching the toe down to the floor, followed by 5 arabesque leg taps, bringing the leg out to the side and then crossing over your standing leg. Off we go with our grand battement. Keep your spine very still and your hands directly underneath your shoulders, neck long and focus looking down towards the floor. Now for your leg taps, again, try not to lift the hips, keep your hip bones looking down at the floor and try and make this movement as smooth and controlled as possible. Repeat everything again. It's important not to crunch the back in your grand battement, so feel that it's more of an extension. And now repeat everything on the other leg. Stretching out in child's pose. Moving on to our last series of exercises, we're going to do 10 stag lifts. So with both knees bent, elbows on the floor, you're going to lift your back leg off the floor 10 times. This is great for the glutes. Then stretching the legs out in front of you, we're going to do 10 sitting leg lifts. It's very important you keep the spine long in this exercise. Okay, so off we go with our stag lifts. Keep your turn out and lift the knee off the floor and lower it back down gently. This exercise is going to help with your arabesques, with your front splits and with your extensions behind. Now for our sitting leg lifts. Keep the spine very long, you don't want to be sinking into your spine. Keep your knees stretched and the legs turned out. And now moving on to the other side. As always, it's important to keep your neck long and relaxed. So it helps if your focus is looking down at the floor and you feel as if there's a thread going through your neck and out through the top of your head. Then swinging the legs round, lengthening the spine, and with the legs turned out, we move on to our 10 leg lifts. And we're done. That concludes our leg extensions for today.